Welcome back to another episode of Rock Boys Football. This is a game, UCF going on the road to play Boise State, that I've had my eyes on pretty much all offseason. This is a UCF team that I'm extremely high on, not only what they can do in 2023, but where this program is going. And then Boise State, I think this is legitimately one of, if not the best Group of 5 team in the country this year. They played, 2 years ago at the Bounce House, electric game. I think this is going to be a damn good game too. Excited to get into it. Talk about the key matchups. Now, before we do, just want to say thank you to you guys and the support you guys have shown the boys. Truly means a lot. Over 8,000 subscribers. Can't thank you guys enough for rocking with us. So, one, if you do enjoy the content, consider subscribing to the channel. But more importantly, again, the best part about doing this, talking ball with you guys in the comment section. So, drop your picks in the comments. We'll chop it up there. Dylan, I'm going to give you the T-box here. UCF going and playing on the blue turf. How we feeling?
I mean, this I think is, again, you look, obviously UCF moving into the Big 12, but when they were Group of 5 teams, these were two of those Group of 5 teams that feel like Power 5 programs. I mean, they play consistently like that. They're good every year. They have a lot of talent. And this is just a super exciting square off and frankly, a chance for Boise State to kind of like not right the ship, obviously, but like show that they're still that team. I mean, Washington beats up on a lot of teams. They just play an offensive style that is really hard to keep up with. But now UCF maybe get a chance to play a team that probably more at their level and show that they haven't gone anywhere.
I'm not ready to write Boise State off. I think there's people, oh my God, they got smoked by Washington. This is like not a great boy. This is a very good Boise State team. There has not been many teams over the last 12 months that have been able to stop Michael Penix in that wide receiver room. So I still think Boise State, one of the top teams at that Group of 5 level. Dylan, I want to start with UCF on the offensive side of the ball because I do think they can stress Boise State in a very similar way. And I'm not saying John Rice Plumlee is as good as Michael Penix at that quarterback spot, but UCF is a very dynamic offense. And when you take a look at this UCF offense as a whole, there are so many different ways that they can beat a defense.
And that's essentially like Gus Malzahn, I feel like doesn't get enough credit for being one of those real offensive gurus.
Yeah, he's awesome.
I mean, when he came in Auburn, he really took some teams that weren't necessarily as talented as Alabama and some of those teams and won a ton of games in the SEC. And you kind of see that I wish I could articulate what he does exactly to like put teams in conflict and get his guys a lot of space to operate, but somehow he does it. And again, they're not a team that's going to beat you up vertically. So I don't know that that's the comparison you're looking, but they do get their wide receivers in space, and these 3 wide receivers are really good with the ball.
Right now for this UCF team, it's a Gus Malzahn combined with just the personnel. Like you look at, I want to start with John Rice Plumlee, who again, one of the best athletic quarterbacks we see in the country. And I think if he takes that step and just a little bit more consistency, pushing the ball down the field, like you're truly looking at an offense that I think can be one of the better teams that you see in the country. But you noted it best. This UCF wide receiver room, like legitimately good. Javon Baker, Kobe Hudson, Xavier Townsend. I mean, Javon Baker and Kobe Hudson came into UCF last year coming as the leading receiver for Auburn his last year before he came to UCF. Javon Baker, I think one of the more talented receivers in the country. You look at those pass catchers combined with what John Rice Plumlee and these running backs can do on the ground. I love this UCF offense. They can hit the explosive plays. And Dill, from Boise State standpoint, I'm a little bit nervous about them controlling all these playmakers.
And that's the thing. Boise State needs to do a far better job in the secondary tackling because I get it. If you give up a couple of big plays to like a Jalen McMillan or a Polk, like a Dunze, those guys are just stars. They're going to get theirs. But I did think there were some moments where the ball was thrown underneath and just not coming up and making tackles. And frankly, that's what they're going to need to do against UCF because they're not going to beat them over the top consistently, I don't think. That's not John Rice Plumlee's game. But if they catch a quick slant, like they can't let those wide receivers get rolling. And that's what UCF looked really good at doing against that Kent State team, which obviously is a very weak team, but they were still making those plays.
And what I'm concerned about is that's kind of how Boise State got beat a little bit yesterday against Washington. Like letting these receivers get loose after the catch. And I get it. Like they're really talented. Michael Penix is good, but that's what UCF does. Like they're going to get those guys in space and they're going to say, Boise State, you got to tackle these guys in space. And I'm not sure if Boise State can do that. Now, I will say Boise State on the offensive side of the ball, although struggled a little bit later moving the football against Washington, I think has one of the best dynamic rushing attacks in the country. You have Taylor Green, who's very athletic, combined with 2 really, really good running backs. a way that you can stop an offense, and we talk a lot about this, is controlling the time possession, keeping the other offense off the field. If Boise State can run the football and kind of keep John Rice Plumlee and all these playmakers off the field, like that's when you start feeling good about Boise State getting this win at home.
And that was the one I think disappointing thing for me was against Washington. Is it didn't feel like they really tried to establish that run. Granted, they kind of got down a little bit, obviously, because Washington was scoring a lot of points. But I mean, you see, Ashton Genty, like he needs to have the ball a lot because when he was the one thing that was really working on that offense, catching screens, getting the ball out of the backfield, doing his thing. I mean, he's their guy in my opinion. He's the guy who's going to drive this offense, and they need to use him, and he needs to be the focal point of what they do. Because frankly, I just didn't get that sense. I mean, they threw the ball a lot last week against Washington. When they get to this UCF team, they got to try to establish the run and really use Genty because he's next level good player.
And that'll be, I mean, like the biggest key for Boise State. And this will be the biggest key for Boise State like all year is running the football. Still, I like this UCF front seven. Like I especially Johnny Walker, true freshman, played very, very good against Kent State. And again, Kent State is not a good team. I'm not gonna overhype this UCF team because they beat Kent State, but they took care of business and they looked like they had the guys in the front seven to stop this Boise State rushing attack. And I mean, again, if you can make Boise State have to get in those third and longs and push the ball down the field, kind of take away that run game, that's when you start getting the Broncos in trouble.
Yeah, and that'll be the thing is if they can, if UCF can shut down this run, that'll make it look a little bit like what Washington was doing, where they got passing a lot, and you just can see those numbers. That's not completing enough passes.
Yeah,
and granted, like Washington is a better program in general than UCF, I'd say right now, and has a better secondary and better players across the board, but I don't think it looks that wildly different if they're throwing the ball 40 times because that's just not how this offense is built. I don't think they have the receivers to do it that way. And again, it all comes to Genty, in my opinion. And if he's really, really good, that's what drives this.
Yeah, that. Like if you're looking at keys of the game, like Boise State throwing the ball 40 times, that's again they got into a shot. I wish they played Washington a little bit less like a track meet. And again, when you go down early, you kind of have to play like a track meet to catch up. But like that's probably not the box score you're looking for, where your leading carrier has only 51 yards and Taylor Green's throwing the ball 39 times. That's a little bit of not how the game script you want to go for Boise State. Let's get to the pick here. UCF coming in at a couple point favorites, depending on where the books are right now. What's your take on this game here?
I think I got UCF in this game just because, again, I really think I think having Gus Malzahn on a team like UCF is just like, that's taking a coach who should, in my opinion, be at one of the top 15 programs.
Gus Malzahn's the top 20, maybe top 15 head coach in the country, 100%.
Well, that's what I think. And as like this UCF team kind of marches into the Big 12, like perfect guy to lead it. Because again, I do think in college football, coaching makes as much of a difference as in any sport. And in just the way he operates an offense, the amount of talent he's been able to get in the doors, I just think, to me, this UCF team is really kind of moving ahead of where even the top end of the group of five was.
Yeah, I think UCF's in a better spot personnel-wise. I think the matchups probably favor UCF. I'm concerned about Boise State in the back end tackling all these athletes in space. And again, Gus Malzahn, very, very good at that. I think UCF can put up points. And again, if you can make this Boise State team have to push the ball down the field and get to throwing the football and try to beat you in a track meet and not really lean on the run game, that's when they get in trouble.
I will say, though, if Boise State can get the run game going and keep the possessions tight, John Rice Plumlee, he has to stop turning the football over. He fumbles, he throws picks. And if Boise State can shorten this football game and run it, and he gives them a turnover or two, that's where I think Boise State wins this or can really make some noise in this football game. Because, again, as much as I think John Rice Plumlee is developing as a pass rusher, he still makes some sloppy.
That's like you get that though with when you have a quarterback like John Rice Plumlee who legitimately I think can take over games. He plays a little loose, and again, you want to like find that happy medium, right? Where it's like, hey, we don't want you to like not be you out there because you're one of the more dynamic quarterbacks in the country, but at the same time, you can't press to the point where you're turning the football over because again, going on the road to play a very good Boise State team. Can't lose the turnover battle.
Yeah, especially when you might not have enough possessions. If Boise State can kind of get going what they want to get going, which is that slashing running attack that they they take 8-minute drives. And that can be, that to me is where UCF could get into some trouble. But I think just player to player, I think UCF said a bit.
Yeah, I would like to see Boise State slow that down a little bit more. I feel like they were just like trying to play Washington in a track meet. If they try to play UCF in a track meet too, I think that favors UCF. Fast turf on the bluegrass. I'm leaning UCF as well. I just think they got the playmakers where I really struggle to see Boise State tackling these guys. So give me UCF. This is going to be a really good game though. Like I do think it's a one possession game. Boise State's a very, very good program, but I do think UCF just has the guys on the offense side of the ball to put up enough points. Going to be a good one. Appreciate you guys rocking with the boys. Again, if you have your takes, drop them in the comment section. Let's talk there, and we'll talk to y'all later.